What's going on? It's your boy DameSmiff, and tonight we're gonna have a conversation about rap blogs, hip hop blogs, and social media sites that are surrounding hip hop culture. So, if you're interested in conversations like this, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button for the algorithm. So, what is a rap blog and what's a hip hop blog? So, typically, rap blogs and hip hop blogs are just like any other blog. They just pretty much promote, report, or exploit the common occurrences or popular occurrences that are happening within the industry. Now, today we're really going to focus on the shape and real estate of the rap blogs we have today and whether or not they're providing the value we expect them to provide in today's market. So, when I think of what a rap blog is by definition, right? I would assume that it would involve deploying information about either the music business surrounding hip hop culture, the maybe so the musicianship, or more so the politics and networking that is involved in the financial side of the music business. Now, why do I say the financial side? Is because that's kind of the bloodline of most things in the music industry is how we want to and can make money. So when we are considering that, I like to also think about being very intentional about how we present that information because we want it to be accurate for the fans and we want it to be accurate for any newcomers who are trying to join the industry. So that's how I view a rap blog. When you ask me what is a rap blog, that's what I expect. Okay. So let's observe what's actually out there. So when we are thinking about the most popular rap blogs, meaning getting the most clicks and impressions and engagement from the common population. Okay. They may not be the purest rap blog. They may not be the most up to date, but they may be the most consistent, maybe the most hardworking, or maybe they have the best branding and marketing and network, right? This provides them with influence, and that's going to be key throughout the conversation. So, when we're considering the level of influence a blog that doesn't have the authenticity that we expect it to have, when we consider that its influence, how much value do we place on, let's say, the opinion of people that work for that blog? Let's say the communication that this blog makes towards the music industry and its audience. How much value does it really have if we know for a fact it's not as authentic as maybe a smaller blog or a blog that's a little more immersed into the scene? And the answer to that question, I'm not really going to pose for you. I want you to come up with it on your own. And it's really to kind of show you your mindset on the information you receive about hip hop, about music culture, and about what you are consuming as entertainment. And so once you come up with your answer, then you can kind of figure out how you view rap blogs. So my personal answer is that if you're not really authentic in the sense of not understanding the community's opinion or considering all general opinions about, let's say, a popular event or maybe a new song or an album, you're not considering all perspectives, then I feel like it's not very valuable as some blogs that could be as general. And the reason being is because let's say a new artist drops a song and it goes crazy, like, the numbers go wild. We want to know, is the song good? Now, that word good means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But the point of the blog is to provide pretty much all the information needed for you as the audience member to come up with that information. Now, how can I manipulate that if I wanted to either make money or maybe influence you to make a certain purchasing decision? Well, I can influence that through either the network of people that I surround my blog with. So maybe I'm dealing with a certain kind of hip hop artist. Maybe I'm dealing with a particular mindset when it comes to the music industry. Maybe there's a certain demographic I'm targeting when it comes to the audience. This is how I can kind of control and create a niche on terms of what kind of communication I want to put out, who's receiving it, and how I'm going to get value from this interaction. So, what do I mean when I say that? All in all, I can see different blogs, vlogs, and news sources and things like that, trying to find their way in their lane and their unique niche within hip hop culture. And I think the problem that each of them run into is that they all tend to forget about the foundational reason about why hip hop even exists. And that is the musicianship. That's literally it. You wouldn't have jazz, you wouldn't have rock, you wouldn't have classical music, you wouldn't have reggaeton, you wouldn't have any of that if there wasn't some kind of foundational understanding on how music works. And so usually you'll see a blog come out of the woodworks, or maybe one that'll start in the 90s and then it's no longer popular now, or it can't keep up with the times. Usually the thing that is consistent with why they're failing is because they're not focused on the music. They're not focused on the creation of the music, the value of the music, understanding the music, who or what goes into the process of making music. And what do I mean when I say that? I mean this. If you look at today's pop culture posts about hip hop artists, how much of it goes into music theory, music business, and goes into the creation process of, let's say, a song, an album, or a music video? Why am I making that a point? Because if that is something that is not of value to you as somebody who is looking towards a musician for information, then that means this musician has very little value to provide for you through music. I'm going to say it again and I'm going to rephrase it so it's simpler. If I'm a musician and you book me to be in your blog or do an interview with you, and you refuse to ask me about music, I have very little value to provide by definition. Okay. Now, you can argue against that and say that you have other personality traits and characteristics that can shine through and we can love about you. You can say you have other businesses that are really cool and we should check out, maybe other products and services. Maybe you're from a really cool city or a part of a really funky little group of friends. At the end of the day, all of those things have nothing to do with music. And therefore, you have little value to provide to whatever conversation you're supposed to have about music. And so many blogs fail to realize this because they are not usually musicians themselves. The ones that are usually ran by musicians for musicians, they can understand the nuance of the conversation a little better, but it's not as provocative for the audience because making music, understanding music, and being a musician is pretty niche within itself. And so this is why you'll see oftentimes the people who are actually attracted to these hip hop blogs and rap blogs, and sometimes just pop culture blogs, are just flyby fans, fair weather friends who don't really have any investment in the content and the substance of the guests or the information provided. Now, I'm saying this as a fan, as a person who does not have a rap blog. So then I have to pose the next question. If I were to create a rap blog, would my sentiment be successful with the general public? And this is where I now lay the responsibility and accountability on you, the audience members, on how these rap blogs are performing in today's music industry. So usually you'll hear people who are really successful say, like, I have to put the candy and the medicine in my content. I got to show you guys, the ratchet stuff and then kind of weave in lessons and stuff like that. I hear that a lot of times, and I think it's not necessarily true because that's partly trying to satisfy something that doesn't need to be there. And also, you're trying to satisfy something that you honestly don't even want to be there. And this is what I mean by that. If you were overweight and you got a diagnosis that was pretty life changing from your doctor, and he told you you needed to cut out soda, would you try to argue with him to keep soda within your lifestyle, or would you cut out the soda. And so it's just really a mindset thing about how you want to approach information and provide it to people. So when I'm looking at, let's say, a young musician who wants to become a rapper, well, what kind of information would be valuable to them? It would not be valuable for them to know who went to jail this week. It would not be valuable for them to know what crimes were committed this week. It would not be valuable for them to know what foods were eaten by their favorite celebrity, what sneakers were bought, what shoes were bought, what cars were bought. None of that matters. What would actually matter to a young musician who's trying to get into the hip hop industry would be streams of income, understanding music law, understanding music business and business etiquette, and then understanding how to network and use social media. You can start with that. And then you can get into, music theory and learning how to play an instrument and all that other cool stuff. But this goes back to, again, you as an audience member, would that even come up on your algorithm? Is that something you'd support, or would you support more so seeing who's cheating on who, what guy kissed who girl, and things like that? Would that be more important to you? And if so, type it in the comments. Typing it in the comments will help you kind of solidify your mindset and really understand this is a real thing about yourself. So I usually tell my young artists to like write most of their lyrics out. Don't try to do this freestyle thing, because once you write it out, you then have to think about what you're saying and you have to hear it come out of your face. And if it sounds stupid, then you can tell, because now you can read it. And so if you really believe that a young rap artist, and if you are a rap blog and you're watching this, just think about this for a second. If you believe that a young artist or musician gets immense value from hearing about who went to jail this week, who bought the latest PS5 game, or anything like that, then type it in the comments and really explain how that really helps this young artist's career. And so I think that's all I really have for you guys. I'm going to go through a bunch of different angles with this topic because I truly believe it's something that's super simple that I think is just gone wrong because most people aren't musicians and they don't really care about trying to be intentional about musicianship. So if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow evening. Peace.